Mobile phones, fried chicken, and human hair. What do these three things have in common? Well, if you're from the UK, you may already know where this is going. Walk down any UK high street and you will be met with an insufferable amount of lackluster shops providing nothing more than food poisoning, overpriced phone repair, and self-esteem destroying barbershops, which somehow remain everywhere despite the vast competition and below average service. Now, I could probably make an individual video on any of these businesses, not to mention the countless American candy stores and vape shops which seem to have infected almost every town. But as the title and thumbnail suggests, in this video I will just be focusing on the modern day plague that is UK barbershops. So if you are from the UK, one question I'm sure you've asked yourself at some point is why are there so many barbershops? Which is then usually followed by, and how do all of these businesses still manage to make money when they look empty 90% of the time? Well, these are the questions I ask myself pretty much every time I try out a new barbershop, only to receive the same dodgy haircut for £15. To be fair, everyone needs their haircut, so I suppose in a way it's a fail-proof business, as long as you hire some half-decent barbers. But after more than enough terrible haircuts, I've come to realise that half-decent is a luxury nowadays, with the majority of barbers struggling to follow even the most basic requests. Now, to their defence, yes, there could be a language barrier, or perhaps they're new and everybody has to start somewhere, right? The theory I was told when I was younger was that a lot of these businesses hire their family and friends to help them out. So you could say that I once viewed barbershops as almost a charitable service that were providing jobs for the less fortunate. I mean, how else do you explain the god-awful haircuts that most of these cheap high street barbershops produce? But don't get me wrong, there are some legitimate businesses out there that do give you a great haircut. But to find these hidden gems can be an absolute nightmare when you have over 20 different barbershops in your area, all with 5-star ratings on Google Maps, and all the same generic comments. So how do these businesses, against all odds, somehow manage to stay afloat? Well, looking at the situation from an economic perspective, the common understanding is that with more competition, you tend to get a better service as these businesses will need to one-up each other in order to win over a customer base. But barbershops seem to be a direct contradiction to this well-known fact, as they are more than capable of providing a below-average service in an above-average market, in terms of competition at least. Seriously, next time you visit your local high street, I challenge you to actually count the number of hairdressers and/or barbershops you find, and I promise you, the results will be shocking. So, how is it possible that most of these businesses seem to be flourishing despite providing a substandard service at best? Well, there are a few ways. As I mentioned earlier, they do provide a necessary service that people will always require. As the saying goes, everybody has got to eat. But a restaurant that serves bad food will tend to go out of business, whereas a barbershop that gives bad haircuts will seem to remain open indefinitely. But another point you could make is that with the relatively recent lift of lockdown restrictions post-COVID, we are seeing many more barbershops opening as the demand for haircuts has understandably resurfaced. And you can't forget, barbershops are one of the cheapest businesses to buy into. All you need is a few sets of grooming gear and a couple of chairs, and now you have a functional business. I'll give you an example. Did your mum ever cut your hair when you were younger? If not, then you are one of the lucky ones. But if you were unfortunate like myself, and had to sit in the bathroom with tears in your eyes as your mum shaved off your very last remnant of confidence, then you'd be aware just how low cost this service really is. Now, it's not easy to be a barber, and I certainly wouldn't trust myself cutting anybody's hair. But this leads me back to one of my initial points, as the vast majority of the time, you will leave a barbershop feeling severely underwhelmed and disappointed, time after time. But you get what you pay for, I suppose. Saying this though, why are they so much cheaper than the quote-unquote good barbers? Or the better question, how? We already discussed how this business seems to contradict basic economic principles. So what's really going on here? Well, there are a few genuine reasons why their costs are so low in comparison to the more professional barbershop. It could be that they are aware of how bad their service really is, and they rely on low prices to attract their customers. It could be that they pay their employees very low wages, or in some cases, no money at all, which is a point I will touch on very soon. Or it could be that they understand that they need lower prices in order to compete with the vast amounts of competition. But one of the lesser known reasons, which has recently been verified and will therefore be the main essence of this video, is that maybe there is something more nefarious behind these so-called legitimate businesses. A security expert from the NCA has issued a warning that criminal gangs may be using barbershops as bases for human trafficking, slave labour and drug operations, with gangs using these businesses to conceal their illegal profits. The National Crime Agency has warned that criminal cash leaving the UK has risen exponentially in the past 4 years, with businesses such as car washes, nail bars, and especially barbershops being used as fronts to launder their money. According to other national security sources, this is done by having trusted associates within the gang collect the illicit cash and use businesses such as barbershops to clean the money. If the associates are stopped, they can just claim that the wealth is from a legitimate British-based business and remain untouched. Now, this increase of barbershops in the UK has been truly staggering, with a 64% increase between 2014 and 2019. Former Metropolitan Police Officer Ali Hassan has expressed great concern, stating that many are owned by Albanians, Turks and Kurds, groups which are notorious for organised crime in the UK. He also believes that these shops are being used for people smuggling and drug trafficking, and his concern is warranted, as the NCA recently arrested a man who was using his barbershop in Colindale, London, to recruit lorry drivers to bring migrants from northern France and Belgium into the UK, offering somewhere around £2,500 per person smuggled. He was arrested at his barbershop and was later sentenced to 10 years in prison. Even worse, Glyn Rankin, who used to work for the Human Trafficking Centre, believes that these people who are smuggled into the UK could be forced to work in these shops, or in other words, they will be forced to provide slave labour until their debt is finally paid. So, if all of this information is true, what can we do to prevent it? Well, we could collectively agree to never use their barbershops again, but this would likely only negatively affect the legitimate operations, as the fronts will continue to remain open through their illicit profits. There were approximately 13,000 barbershops in the UK as of 2019, with estimates showing that this number is only increasing, so they certainly aren't going anywhere anytime soon. With this in mind, the issue would appear to be out of our hands. So for now, we will just have to cross our fingers and hope the legislation in place is re-evaluated. But if you have any opinions of your own on how we can combat this epidemic, please feel free to drop your ideas down in the comment section, as it would be great to start a discussion on a topic not many people seem to be talking about. Also, if you found this video interesting and you would like to see me cover more topics like this, please let me know by leaving a like and make sure to subscribe for future true crime content. But until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.